to Mish Reads. Today I'm doing some backdating in my Hobonichi cousin and my Hobonichi weeks. This happens to me quite frequently. I have a busy life, I have kids, I work, I have hobbies, obviously. I'm trying to do social media, and sometimes I just fall behind on my journaling, even though I do love it so much. And this week was definitely sort of a perfect storm of everything going on with kids and personal life, but also I got my COVID shot on Monday and it really kicked my butt. So I just wasn't reaching for my journals that much, but where I can, I really do enjoy backdating, if anything, just for memory keeping. So when I fall behind in my Hobonichi cousin on the daily sections, I don't tend to make that a top priority to backdate for that specific day. I'll just sort of try and go back to those pages intermittently if I have an idea for something creative or I want to journal about maybe a book a little bit more than I normally would, because here I do keep it really brief. Um, but yeah, for the most part, on my weekly spreads, you'll see later, I do like to write a little bit about each of my days. So for me, catching up on that doesn't take too terribly long. When I looked at the raw footage for this sort of catch up section, it was right at about 40 minutes. And I think that's perfectly doable for a weekly roundup of journaling that makes me feel really happy with staying on top of my journals and makes me feel like I'm using them. And obviously, the act of using them is very fun and relaxing as well. But I have ADHD and I tend to struggle really bad with black and white thinking. And a lot of times, what that can show up as is if I'm not using my journal every day, that means I'm wasting it, or I need to be changing something, or it's something that I need to be working on. And while I do enjoy journaling every single day, I'm really trying to practice not guilt tripping myself if I forget or just don't get around to it. Because the unfortunate fact about living with ADHD is sometimes we truly do forget about things that we love to do. We need to have that reminder um, so that we actually do it. And for me, what this often looks like is keeping all of my journals and my journaling supplies within sight and within easy access. But last weekend, I got a new desk, which I'm really excited about, but that means that everything is a little bit different. Everything's in a slightly different place. And I think that really contributed to me not journaling as much this week, in addition just to the sort of like brain fog and tiredness and joint aches that I was experiencing from the COVID shot. But yeah, it's just kind of funny how something as seemingly simple as changing up your environment can really affect your routines. So here I am now filling up one of my yearly spreads. That was a spread for the Brady and Rosie book talk. I have since left that book club, not because there was anything wrong with it, but I just wasn't staying on top of the books. So I'll be covering up that second page with something later on when I think about it. But this is the Pod Book Club, is my in real life book club with my friends. I can't remember where pod came from, but that's just what we call ourselves. And so I'm just filling in some of the books that we read. In September, we read When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and that book was incredible. I highly recommend. I love Nat Cassidy so much, and I will just read everything he writes. Yeah, I read Nestlings last year, and then over the summer I read Mary, and those two were both nearly perfect novels. I loved them so much. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I adore the way that fountain pen ink looks on this Tomo River cream paper. Right now I'm writing in black, but you'll see that the book titles are in a blue. That is the Pilot Ear Shizuku Siyoro. It's this gorgeous teal that like shades with almost a brownie red hue, and it looks beautiful on the cream paper. Something about the cream paper really makes that extra dimension in the pen ink pop in a way that it doesn't really do on the white paper. And I don't know if that's me just being crazy or what, but I swear it looks drastically different on the cream paper. I have really fallen off of these little graphs that I was doing at the end of each month. I'll definitely come back to these at some point because I think they're so fun. I just pull the data from Storygraph, and I think that's why I procrastinate it because I'm in my head, I'm like, well, I don't have to do anything special. I know that all the data is always going to be available in Storygraph anyway, but I just need to set aside some time to do it. And I've really been enjoying writing shorter TBRs for each month. This is the first month that I've written a drastically shorter TBR, and wow, was it satisfying to check off a higher percentage of the books that I wrote down. I think one way to really set yourself up for success is give you some guaranteed wins. If you normally read 4 books a month, set a goal for reading 4 books a month. And then when you read 5, then you'll feel really good about yourself. And I think that something like that can be really important for making sure that you stick with the hobbies that you love so much because as we sort of get into these creator spaces and these online spaces, I think it's really easy to fall into the hole of comparing ourselves or trying to be creative and think of ways that we can make content. And while that's really great, as long, if it's helping you make content and enjoy doing that, the slippery slope is that it can make a hobby that used to be just for fun feel like a task or feel like a job. So I'm definitely trying to keep that in mind as I create content more because at the end of the day, I would never want to do anything to ruin reading for myself. Although I'm not really sure if that's possible. So here we have my Paper Republic. I am tracking or I'm using this Hobonichi Weeks for content and life, which I've been enjoying. I write down the videos I want to film that week under that first section, and then I have a little checkbox for filming, editing, and posting. Really liking that. And then below that, I have sort of a catch-all for ideas. Like if it's not a fully formed video idea or something that I don't have like actually planned yet, I'll write it there. And then I write a little short list of my up and coming TBR books so that I know what I'm reading that week, what I have directly up next. And I just think it's really fun to have like a tiny little TBR snapshot in this book or in this journal. And what I'm adding here is a little next week section. I had the idea that I wanted to write down and sort of call out things that I know will be carried into next week and that won't get Side note, posted for this any of week. You other creators out there, have you tested out any sort of social media schedulers? Because this week I have been testing Buffer, and like I said, it is a social media scheduler. So with a membership, I think of $5 a month, you can link all of your social media accounts and then schedule posts out like forever. And then when you go to create a post, so like if I'm making short form content, I can click TikTok Reels and YouTube Shorts all at once, customize what I want the descriptions to be, and then just click schedule or publish now. And it just goes out to all of those platforms instead of me needing to upload to each individual one or even send it to my phone. I can just do it all from my computer. So I'm really enjoying that. I will keep you posted because I am concerned about the video quality and how it actually looks once it gets posted because it's not getting posted directly from your device. It's, you know, going through them. So I'm curious if that like degrades the quality of the video or not. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any tips and tricks for that because I really am loving posting more and being more consistent. But in order for it to be something that actually fits into my life, it has to be something that doesn't take hours and hours and hours of time. Like, my time is important, my time is precious. I want to value my own personal time, time with my family, time with friends. And yeah, I'm trying to see if something like this will help with that. I can't remember what I was just Googling there. Oh, I remember. I was talking with my therapist this week about ADHD burnout, and that's a term that like I knew of in theory, but unfortunately, I don't think I fully realized how deeply I've been experiencing ADHD burnout. So I have been brainstorming with her ways to sort of interrupt that cycle. And I do know for me that one of the things that definitely helps me like regulate and reset is journaling. So it's definitely a priority that I have to not only make time for this hobby, but make sure that when I am journaling, it is something fun and brings me joy and not something that feels stressful. So, one of the ways that I do that is like you'll see here, I had already done this setup for this week, last weekend. Um, but when I go to fill this out, all I'm doing is jotting down a couple sentences per day about what I did and how I felt. And that is a lot easier for me to do than stress about filling an entire page worth of thoughts or art or drawing or being creative. And I love doing those things, but sometimes the brain and the energy levels are just not conducive for that. And this is all I can really achieve. And that's okay. Same with habit tracking. I like habit tracking, but it's a constant battle between it feeling helpful and it feeling like guilty and shameful that I'm not keeping up with it or that I'm not doing my habits. So this week I only picked 4 habits instead of the like 8, I think, that I've been tracking the past couple weeks. And I think I just need to be realistic with myself that like I'm not the type of person that can really remember to track that many different habits. So yeah, a lot of this is just learning about yourself, figuring out who you are, how your brain works. Just a lifelong struggle. Yay. I am mildly annoyed with myself. I don't know if you can tell, but I accidentally put my washi tape over all of the days and dates, which I never do. I always put it below it. And so I had to handwrite the days and dates back in. I felt very silly. I feel like that was foreshadowing. That was last Sunday that I made this spread. I did the design. Yeah, that was before the COVID shot, but I feel like my brain and my body already knew what was coming, that I was going to be in for a difficult brain week. So I guess let me know, guys, in the comments, like, what do you guys do to sort of get out of brain fog or when you're feeling in a slump? I would love to know. I'm always looking for really low effort ways to be creative and ways to use my journals. I like watching all kinds of journal content, but sometimes people be doing a lot, people be doing the most. And I'm in a phase of life where I need things to be really simple and really just sort of streamlined, or I just will not do them and I will not keep up with them. So yeah, any fellow ADHDers out there who might be watching this video, just know that you're not alone if you're also feeling burnt out. This world was not made for brains like ours, and unfortunately, we do have to work harder to adapt to a lot of the constraints of this society, and there's nothing wrong with you because of that. It's all society's fault. There are so many cool things for all the struggles and difficulties that ADHD brings. There's also a lot of really, really cool stuff about having this type of brain, and I try not to forget about that because as much as I want to hold space for feeling bad or having struggles, like I don't love when people call ADHD a superpower. I think if that feels good for you, that's awesome. But in some ways, it can feel kind of invalidating for the struggles that we go through. Um, but with that being said, you do find a balance between recognizing the ways that it is disabling without letting it affect your mental health too negatively. And this has just kind of become a chat about ADHD, which is honestly fine with me because that's sort of something that I'm doing a lot of unpacking and working through this year. Like I said, I started therapy in July and I've been really, really enjoying it. My therapist is wonderful. And I think it's really great for someone who often really like self intellectualizes. I'm the type of person where if I do enough personal research, then I think I understand something when the fact of the matter is, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not any of those things. I'm smart and I'm capable, but sometimes there are things that we just can't figure out by ourselves, and that's perfectly fine. If you have access to seek out therapy, I highly recommend it. It's been really great so far. That's all the catching up I'm going to be doing in here. Like I said, I am just going to be ignoring my daily pages for now. They're empty for this week, and that's okay. I will fill them at a later date, and if I don't, that's okay. It's just paper, and I'm not going to be scared of paper. But now let's take a moment for some joy. If you guys know the artist Strawberry Waffle on TikTok, she just did a pre-order for these catfish sardine tin cute adorable stickers. I will absolutely be putting some of these on my 2026 journals, maybe my Hobonichi A6. But this tin is just so freaking cute. I'm obsessed, and I always buy her digital products as well because they just bring me joy. But that's it for me, guys. Thanks for hanging, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.